It's exciting, guys. It's really exciting.
It is.
All right, so we are live at the session Building Managed Marketplace for Communities. And here to lead the panel is Rakefet Yacoby from Mayple. Eric, if you can turn your camera on, that'd be great because we don't see you on screen. So I will let you introduce yourselves and take it away. I'll leave the stage to you.
Okay, amazing. So hi, everyone. Good morning or good evening to wherever you are. And very nice to be here, very exciting to be here. I'm Rakefet, I'm Mayple CMO. And with me, we have Marian and Eric and Dan, all our experts, super experienced and amazing experts from our network. And we're going to have a panel together today just speaking about the Mayple experts community, why it was built, why we're building Mayple, a little bit about our model as a managed marketplace. Mostly you'll hear from Dan and Eric and Marion rather than myself. Just to give you a sense of the people that are part of that network that eventually makes it what it is, and looking forward at the future, where can those kind of models go and what kind of values and benefits it can give to everyone that's involved. It's kind of a win-win-win situation that we're trying to build here, and we'll just dive deep into what it means actually. So, so let's just start with questions, shall we? Let's just, Dan and Eric and Marion, let's just, introduce yourselves and take it from there.
Sure. So my name is Dan. I have been involved in digital marketing for about 14 years now. I've worked both in Tel Aviv, working with certain startups in Tel Aviv, helping them with lead generation and customer acquisition. I started an e-commerce brand called Inkas. Actually, I worked quite closely with Arik during the Inkas years, and so we have a close relationship as well. And now I currently work as both a freelancer and in an agency format, assisting mainly e-commerce clients increase their customer acquisition and improve their ROAS on online advertising channels. And so, yeah, that's my background.
Perfect. Marion?
Hi, everyone. So I'm Marion. I'm actually right now based in France, but I actually made main of my career in digital marketing in London. So I have a total of 7 years experience, and I'm mainly expert in traffic acquisition, lead generation. And I've actually just joined Mayple about 6 months ago. So I'm also discovering this new way of working. I really enjoyed. That's about me.
Hey guys, can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, excellent. So my name is Arik. I've been an independent digital marketer for about 10 years now. Most of my experience comes from managing PPC campaigns across platforms like Google and Facebook, and various additional platforms that advertisers occasionally use. I've worked with Dan, as Dan mentioned, early at the beginning of my career, promoting Inkas. I think we've done a great job there. So it was kind of a case study that we're always proud to kind of present to anybody who asks about past experience. So the focus is on performance marketing, meaning that generating sales at the ROI goal or return on ad spend goal that has been set is basically what I do. With time, my scope has expanded to cover not just the aspects of generating the most relevant traffic, but also looking at where this traffic is landing and making sure that we're able to provide the highest user experience so that we can also maximize the return from our investment. So that's pretty much it.
Cool. And I think it's super exciting and super interesting to see. Dan is out there in Texas, I believe, right?
Correct. Yes.
Eric is in Beersheba, in south of Israel. Marion is in southern France. We're all speaking here and all part of one community. And just before diving into each of your personal stories, just a small brief about, short brief about Mayple. Eventually, it's we're trying to build here exactly that. Really curating and collaborating with the most talented people in the world in performance marketing and digital marketing. So that's the purpose of building that community of experts that are all like-minded on the same quality standards of their professional level. It's like a community of A+ players. Just before we dive into each of one of your stories, and the beauty is that once a community like that exists and lives together, and we'll dive into all the benefits and values, also businesses can actually enjoy it very much. So obviously there are two sides here, and when talking about a fully managed marketplace, eventually all sides should be benefit from this situation. One is the community of experts, and the other part is the businesses that actually will be able to get access to those kind of experts and actually get better value for their business and from their marketing budgets, obviously. And everything is kind of the different locations and everything we speak about is really part of kind of our vision of the future of work. We're really based on a lot of trends in the industry. Part of them is, top talent can't be hired in this industry, I guess. And I'll be happy to hear from each one of you what made you to take this decision of, being an independent professional and expert rather than work as part of an agency or work as part of a brand.
Absolutely.
Marian.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, should I start? Great. So, on my side, after living in London, so working and living there, I've just decided more for personal reason to go back to my town in France. And this is actually when I realized that the reality of the job market was quite uncertain, and even more with the pandemic right now. So that's basically my first reason why I was keen on becoming more independent the way I work. But aside this, I also have a very kind of international profile because I worked anyway longer abroad than in France in an international environment across different markets. So I saw that my profile would be more appealing actually towards international clients. So that's why by working more independently and online as well, I felt I could actually reach to this kind of network. That was a good fit for me.
Cool. And what made you feel as confident as you were to take that step? It's not an easy step to take, I guess.
Yes, not indeed. But I kind of played safely because I've actually kept my current job, which is still located in London. I've still been working for them, but in the same time, I started becoming a bit more independent by getting some contract for Mayple. So that's kind of a smooth shift, more safe. But yeah, that's gave me basically the confidence to take this step.
Yeah, how about you, Dan?
I would say honestly, I really believe that this is the future of how work is going to be run, the workflow, and how the economy is going to be run. I think the coronavirus pandemic has accelerated several processes that have already existed within the economy for decades. Personally, I've been working on a remote team format for a long time now. I've always seen the value of reducing overhead, not having a central office, saving people time and money with transportation, allowing people to live in a more flexible format where they don't have to be at the office every day. And so that's something that over the past 10 years, especially being involved in digital marketing, where all you really need is a skill set and access to the internet. It's kind of one of the first industries that converted into the remote and distributed format compared to a lot of other kind of more traditional industries. And I definitely still see value in face-to-face communication and in-person interactions. I just think that those can be, somewhere around 20% of the time or less. You don't need to be, on your day-to-day work schedule. You can complete the vast majority of your work from the comfort of your own home, and then organize in-person meetings once every month, once every week, whatever interval is most relevant. And so going back to the major point, I do think that in the future, a lot more companies are going to be operating in a contractor-based model from remote locations. So whether or not you're working with Mayple, or you're working for an agency, or you're even working for one of the more established companies like Facebook or Google, I just think for them, to hire the skill sets at the most competitive cost and get the most competitive candidates, they're going to have to offer some sort of distributed option to allow people to work from wherever they like. And I think that there's obviously many bad things that have happened during this pandemic. And I think one of the only good things to come out of it is perhaps a more rapid shift towards an e-commerce market and towards a distributed workflow, than before the pandemic. So those are my thoughts.
So under all those, trends and shift into a distributed team kind of model, what would you think, or what kind of challenges? There are a lot of challenges within that model as well. It's new. It's different than the traditional way we are used to work. What would be the most significant challenges you see while working in this model?
Yeah, I would say, I think there's two things. I think number one, culture. It's much more difficult to build company culture and group cooperative culture, which exists in every organization when people are distributed. So I think that there will be certain solutions proposed that kind of enable people to create a more coherent culture and kind of structure, whether it's in a contractor format or in a traditional company format. And I think the second part is that because there's going to be certain things that are missing, there's going to be opportunity to create a whole new suite of software tools that kind of allow this to happen. So for example, right now there are tools on the market that enable you to create a training manual. Obviously, there's group chat tools like Slack, there's project flow tools like Monday, but I think there's going to need to be a whole new set of tools that kind of allows people to interact in a more organic and cooperative format in terms of both group culture, organizing workflow, understanding other people's strengths and weaknesses, and really just kind of improving the ability for people to work remotely. And so I think that, Slack is hugely popular, Monday is hugely popular, there's a whole suite of tools that already exist. But I think over the next decade, we're going to see a lot of new software tools that enable you really to run almost an in-person workplace virtually. So it's, something similar to the water cooler, right? So people, enabling people to chat, hang out, talk, organize, different documents, so on and so forth. I think that's going to be a necessity, and I'm interested to see what people are going to come up with, because I think it opens up a whole new sector.
Sure. Eric, so what would you say was your challenge when starting to be independent expert?
Well, there were many challenges, and just in point of reference to what Dan has been saying, I passed through the entire kind of cycle of being independent, remotely hiring some people, training and hiring them eventually, then bringing them together into an office, into a physical office, working with these guys from an office for about 2 or 3 years, and then eventually going back to working remotely. I can definitely relate to the and see the advantages and disadvantages of each model. And I would say that one thing that Dan did not touch on, which is a big kind of challenge when you're hiring remotely and managing a remote team, is developing a strong sense of loyalty to you as an employer, to your brand, to your agency, right? Because what we see, with the benefits come the challenges, because it's so easy to get hired by any agency anywhere in the world, which also means, which is good, but on the flip side, it means that you can hire a freelancer and he could be working with 10 different other agencies at the same time, not leaving enough time for kind of your projects, and you don't really know what's going on, in their lives. It's not the personal connection you get when you see somebody walk into the office in the morning and you say, hey, what's up? And, you kind of discuss some news or what's been going on in their lives here and there. So is this personal connection that does get lost. It does. And I don't think that we have found a challenge, found a solution to this challenge yet. It's I guess it's a work in progress. It will take some time, but it's definitely something that as people get more used to working remotely, they'll also find the tools to connect themselves better and get that sense of community that you usually get naturally when you work in a physical location, but it's more difficult to get that feeling of togetherness for a team when everybody is remote and maybe even on different time zones. It's not even sometimes not even possible to get everybody on the same call because they're not on the same time zone. And so to your question, the challenges for me when starting out were definitely number one challenge was recruiting clients. It was something that, when you're new, you don't have a lot of experience. You need to show experience to get new clients, but to get new clients, you need experience. You don't have it, this vicious cycle that to break it, what I had done, at least in the first few months up to a year of starting, was just working for very, very low prices, almost for free. And doing a bunch of other free stuff like SEO things that I don't even understand, just automatic work, filing some CSV files and stuff like that to get those first recommendations. I was starting out from day one. I decided that I'll be focusing on what were back then the most popular freelance marketplaces, Elance and Odesk. Today they merged into Upwork. And this is, by the way, where me and Dan met also. I think it was Elance. And so, I was bidding like crazy. I remember I was working, I had a day job in an agency in Tel Aviv, and in the breaks I had on the train when I was going home and in the morning when I was going to work, it's about an hour and a half drive. I was just like bidding. I had these goals, like I had to have like 10 bids a day or 20 bids a day. And it's a process that really teaches you also how to write well. Also, in a way, copywriting, I would say it's not far from there because, a project manager can review 50 bids. Yours has to kind of stand out for him to even answer you, let alone get a close after you get on a call with them. So it was definitely sales. I got that part going, I think. And the next challenge, which came really, really right after that, was expanding. So, you have only 24 hours a day. You have to sleep 6 or 8 hours of them. And then you don't really have, all the time in the world. At some point, you're out of time. So at that point, I started trying to recruit talents. I wasn't able to because, to anybody who doesn't know the Israeli geography, the periphery of Israel, basically everything that is not Tel Aviv, probably Haifa as well, is very low on skilled manpower. In a way, anybody who wants a career in some big firm, usually these guys move to Tel Aviv or Jerusalem and stuff like that. So because I stayed in the south, I was not really able to find any local talents to hire immediately. It was a huge challenge for me. What I've done instead was I had people come up to me that wanted to learn this profession, had no experience, maybe some very, very basic one. And I was just training them and trained them for a few months and gradually started giving them some of the projects that I was managing personally, made sure that they knew what they were doing. It wasn't a smooth process. I was wasting a lot of time on people that after 2 months told me that, hey, it's not for me, I quit. And I wasted my time for free. I didn't charge anything for that training. But eventually I was able to build a small team of very, highly skilled, very motivated guys. And that was kind of the core, which later became the agency that I co-founded with a partner.
And still talent was the best, the biggest challenge there.
Those two challenges are still the main challenges these days as well. It's amazing. Nothing really changes. You still need to recruit clients and you still need to recruit talents. Otherwise, you don't really have a business.
So how do you see, being part today, when you're part of the Mayple network and you see it grow and you see it develop, where do you see the benefits now, when talking about those challenges of the local challenge and, the talent challenge, and also the very much being alone challenge? How do you see, how you benefit from Mayple today, and how would you expect, to benefit from Mayple looking forward?
So I think that being part of a community is a huge advantage in our field specifically, because what anybody who tried to to found an agency at some point and hire people like employees, right, with all the benefits and everything that they deserve, understands how inefficient this model is, how much money is wasted on manpower that is not translated into actual work hours, right? This creates huge inefficiency and a very large, financial load on the business, because you have to finance all these taxes and everything. So when starting to work remotely, I think that being able to still have access to a pool of talents, even if you're not hiring them on a kind of employee basis, employer-employee basis, you're looking for freelancers. This is exactly where the solution can come from. Is instead of going to the job-seeking boards, creating opening listings there and hiring and interviewing, now you can do it in a kind of a community where you can just post, hey, I'm looking for a designer or a web developer or a PPC guy or somebody else, and you can then start have interviews, and you can meet with people that you are not going to eventually hire them. So you know in advance, and they know in advance, that this partnership will lead to a freelancer, freelancing, type of relationship. Nobody is going to hire anybody. So the expectations are set. Without it, it's very difficult to grow, because right now, if I need web development services for some of my clients, I'm not going to hire a web developer full time and pay him crazy salary to, maybe have him busy, maybe have most of his day wasted because I don't have enough projects for him. So I need that flexibility. If I need 10 hours of web development in a month, I need to have the option to buy just those 10 hours, nothing else, to stay effective, be competitive in terms of pricing, right? And the second thing is probably getting information, updates, latest trends. People share a lot of stuff. I'm part of some groups on WhatsApp of digital marketers here in Israel, and occasionally I definitely see some cool updates and things that I'm wasn't aware that existed or heard about them, but never really looked into it. So it definitely helps being part of a community of people that share the same challenges as you. No doubt about that.
And the same very long vetting process as you.
Exactly.
No one knows about the vetting process you've gone through with Mayple.
Yeah. Definitely. And knowing that these guys are vetted is a huge advantage, because if you compare it to like going to a marketplace like Upwork, you can hire somebody who has 5-star ratings. Everything looks perfect, but still the project may fail because something that you completely missed. So there's no vetting there. And in an interview, there's so much information you can get about a person in 30 to 60 minutes of talk. So knowing that somebody is vetted and has been already working with a brand I trust is definitely an advantage.
Cool. Okay. Marianne.
I would definitely join many of Eric's points here. So for me, the way I feel I can benefit from being part of such a community is having access to this platform where we can get to some training, but we can also, ask any question which might come up in our day-to-day job, sharing some tips, or just getting some industry news. But I agree with Eric here about as well. I'm seeing this as well as kind of work which I can access when it comes to some personal project or side project I might have. And when I'm actually looking for a specific expertise, I would feel I can actually trust this community, and I can get maybe a next collaborator out of it. So it's quite it's quite a high benefit from this, but also just accessing as well to have to actually a network of clients. I mean, that's such a time saving, I would say, because when you are like, doing a lot of like your day-to-day job and also having to actually look for new clients constantly, it's just taking a lot of time. So it's such a benefit, I would say, to have access to this platform, and also having like an expert who is telling you, okay, I think based on your profile, you might be a good fit with this type of client. So yeah, I think that's basically my main benefits, I would say.
Yeah, I know. I think it's quite amazing. I think it was in my conversation with Eric that he said, the best privilege you can get as a freelancer is to say no to projects. I mean, you just said, at the beginning, I just had to say yes to everything. And once, you have a place where you can actually say no and just get all the yes, all the projects that are really a good fit for you, not only for the business, makes a lot of difference. And, I didn't think about, you two spoke about, the extension of yourselves to other expertise. I didn't even think about it. We didn't even think about it at first. But it's quite amazing. You're going to this direction as well.
We hope as well to get some like traveling tips, from those all over the world. But well, that will come when we all be able to travel freely again.
Cool. So looking forward, I mean, in the next, year or two, then what would you expect Mayple as, and the community of experts within Mayple to provide you, as an independent or expert out there?
Absolutely, that's a great question. Number one, I do strongly believe that Mayple will grow rapidly over the next year. I think that there are several contractor networks that provide kind of high-level vetted contractors for specific jobs. And I think that when you're looking at the kind of e-commerce market, the contractor marketplaces that Arik mentioned, like Upwork and Odesk Elance, which became Upwork, what they really specialize in are kind of more of the higher volume, lower quality type work, where you have kind of work that you need somebody to complete that maybe involves data entry or some kind of more of the basics. And so they obviously have a variety of different jobs, but I think Mayple is interesting because it really provides really high level talent and high quality work for companies that need professionals that maybe they can't afford, or maybe they just need somebody in a contractor role in the beginning. And so for the next year, what I would expect is to, number one, grow with Mayple. And in terms of the community, I already have worked with Arik and other members of the community on other projects. And so I would love to cooperate on more projects with more members of the Mayple community. For example, I've worked on other projects where, we have a specific channel manager for each channel. And so you get to cooperate with a lot of different contractors for larger companies, one person managing Facebook, Google ads, one person doing email, one person doing SEO. And so that really enables kind of sharing of different skill sets, cooperation, in a more, typical company format. And so those are kind of my hopes and expectations for the next year with Mayple.
Cool. I sometimes I wonder. I see, there are a lot of industries that probably require the same solution as we provide in the marketing industry, and I'm wondering, why does the marketing industry is so in the focus with those kind of models? Do you have any thoughts of why does it happen specifically in the marketing industry that we see so many freelancers, so many people that go out and build their own independent work style?
Yeah, go ahead, Arik.
Just wanted to say that I think the main reason why it's happening is because there is a very low entry level. Like, it's easy to start or become, all you have to do is just click a few buttons, like manage a Facebook page or something. You can call yourself a kind of a marketer. You can start having clients if the only skill set you have is how to manage a Facebook page, which is great, by the way. It's a very important skill set. But because entering this profession, is relatively easy, it creates a very high competition among everybody, right? But the thing is that even though there are a lot of people that are competing for kind of the same clients, I think that the main challenge is making sure that you are on top and that you are able to become somebody that can charge that premium pricing that allows you to really live off this profession. Because what most people, I think maybe at least 60% of people that do digital marketing, any type of it, probably do it some kind of a part-time. I mean, they have a day job and they do it after hours or something like that. It's not that easy to make it a full-time living. I think this is probably why there are so many players here. It's one, a lot of players have entered in the first place. Two, it keeps changing. You can be on top 2 years back, and if you weren't paying attention and weren't updating yourself on everything new, then 2 years moving forward, you can be a completely out of touch and lose all your skills. I can say that. Let's take Facebook, for example. How you managed campaigns 2 years ago and how you manage them now, completely different things, like different planets. Nothing is, besides the fact that it's still Facebook, there's nothing in common. So probably that's the reason. But there will be a consolidation, like with any new profession. There will be, I think, a consolidation into less players. The ones that do remain will become bigger, more dominant. We already see that there are a lot of agencies, especially large digital marketing agencies in the US, North America, that are merging and becoming bigger and bigger. And I think that eventually, I think if you look at the traditional marketing, like TV advertising market of the 50s and 60s, you probably also had a lot of small players that eventually merge into larger ones, right? So that's probably what's going to happen here in the next decade or two.
I want to take you just for a second to the other side. I mean, we spoke a lot about us, as marketers and the marketing industry, and very much focused on that. But eventually, the side that's experienced that, on a daily basis are the customers. Eventually, they're experiencing a very, very distributed industry and very fragmented. A lot of agencies, a lot of freelancers, and we started to discuss a little bit from the expert side how it is to be in such a market which is very much competitive, but there is a whole different experience for those smaller businesses, growing businesses that can't really maybe go to the large agencies paying millions of dollars per month. And how do you see your clients experiencing the market so far?
In terms of, so to divide this into a few sections, I think that I wouldn't want to be in my client's shoes when I have to search for a professional to manage my marketing. It's a very difficult process. I've been in that position looking for professionals in areas where I'm less of an expert, like web development and design. And I have my share of working with freelancers that eventually I understood that I shouldn't have hired. So it's definitely a challenge to find and hire people. It's not an easy experience. Later, if you have been able to find a marketer that you can trust, the way I see it, and this is at least the added value that I personally try to give my clients, is that it's not just the results that I give you. I also give you peace of mind to go and deal with other aspects that your business requires you to deal with, instead of looking into your Facebook ads account 10 times a day or following your Google ad spend 5 times a day, right? It's that peace of mind that allows our clients, which are usually the business owners, to focus on creating new products, searching for additional, markets, things like that. I try to find and identify these clients in advance, because if you have a client that doesn't let go and he is constantly there, monitoring every movement, every change, everything, that he's probably doesn't have enough time for doing other stuff in his business. So probably his business is not really growing. And we definitely want to work with businesses that are going to grow if we do our job well. There is nothing more frustrating for a marketer to do a very good job, hit the goal, but then hit this glass ceiling where your client tells you that he cannot process more leads or he's run out of stock, right? It's very, very frustrating. And you want to, in advance, find those clients that that are going to grow with you endlessly would be obviously the best case scenario, but at least, to a very large degree. In terms of how they see it, so yeah, if we do our job well, they can go on and do other stuff.
So Marion, how do you see businesses are experiencing the industry today from their eyes, from their pain points?
So I would say, well, first of all, we just by the nature of the work we are doing, which is mainly digital, we are basically, we can actually work like remotely, work online. So that's why it's just kind of a natural shift, to just go to. But also overall, like at maybe, I don't know, like a bigger perspective here, it's also, okay, this pandemic situation, but also the ecological way, of like we're seeing now that all the energy we consume or anything by commuting, by just, just basically going to work, living, it's just something which we can't really ignore nowadays. So I would say that, this industry actually is just, it's just like adapting as well itself to this model, to this new way of living, which I think it is very positive at the end of the day. But also, like Eric was saying, it can. This new way of working allow maybe smaller companies to actually get access to some like vetted experts. But before, if they have to go through only like a specific agency, or they might not be able to afford this kind of structure. So it allows as well, smaller companies, startups to actually have someone and also commercializing the product, the services more worldwide. With someone who probably know more the language based on where they are based. So there is also this flexibility in terms of actually reaching to other markets and having maybe an expert who knows a bit more the culture of this other market. So it's like, it's funny because in a way it's just like, I think, helping a company to grow more worldwide, but with just staying in the same place and without, traveling everywhere. So in the same time, just fitting this ecological way of working. I think this industry, and also what something I wanted to say is that for me, working like that, just like across different clients, different markets, it's such like a career acceleration. Because if you compare with like a local agency, you would probably work with the same client for about a few years. But here you get to actually develop your skills in a so much like shorter period of time than if you actually would work for a local agency. So I think in terms of like it benefits as well each individuals, to develop their own skills. So that's why I think people would naturally go to more to this way of working. So I did a bit of a mixed, but
okay. So Dan, what do you think? I think right now with all the pandemic and what's going on out there, things have changed for sure. If talking about marketing industry is a very dynamic one, I think it became even more dynamic from all sides, from the expert side and from the business side. What do you think it made businesses, think and act in regards to their marketing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as we've kind of discussed, I think there's a couple.
Sorry, energy saving.
Yeah, no worries. I think there's a couple major things that I would add to the conversation about hiring marketers. I think number one, marketing is highly complex. That's not different than, let's say, coding. But I would say that the difference between marketing and coding is that typically when you're coding, you only need to do one language in one program. So if you're on Shopify, you need a Shopify coder, right? If you're doing a certain application, you need the application language coder. And so typically for a company, they're only coding on 1 to 2 languages max at any given time. You only really need one person to manage that channel. So it's much easier to hire because it's very channel specific. With marketing, you typically have, at minimum 5 marketing channels, sometimes 10 or 20 marketing channels, email, Facebook, Instagram, Google, YouTube, Pinterest, TikTok, Snapchat, AdRoll, Taboola, we all know SEO, content, email, I don't know what I haven't mentioned, what I have mentioned, but you get the idea. That's already a dozen marketing channels. And so to have somebody who's proficient in all 12 of these marketing channels becomes very complicated. When you have a graphic designer, they're going to use Photoshop for whatever project you give them, right? When you have a coder, typically they're going to work in 1 to 2 languages. When you have a marketer, they have to work across a dozen channels. And so that immediately creates an issue. Now, if you want to have the best in class marketer on each of those channels, you are very quickly going to have several millions of dollars of salary to pay, right? So automatically you're dealing with a dozen channels. You need experts to manage each of these channels. You don't have the budget to hire a dozen people to each manage one of those channels. So a business owner is typically immediately confronted with the fact that, hey, I need to hire people that I can afford, that are experts, that can, manage 1 to 2 channels a piece. And so that lends itself very nicely to a contractor model. And that's why marketing on Upwork, marketing on Marketer Hire, marketing on Mayple, all of these networks is, a future trend that has been in existence already for a decade and is going to continue growing for the next decade. So that's one thing. The other thing I would also say about marketers are that, essentially, in order to have when you're talking about a coder, the value add of a coder to your team is good, right? Like you spend $1 on a coder and you can definitely make $2 back from that coder. But marketers typically have a much higher return on investment, right? Each dollar you spend on a marketer can have a much higher return to your business than a coder or a graphic designer or fulfillment specialist or any of the other kind of specialists that you typically hire within a customer service rep, etc. And so I'm not saying that all of those people clearly have an ROI, but I would say the marketing ROI is probably double to triple the average employee in a company. So automatically you're kind of faced with those two issues, that a business owner needs high-level talent, specialization within marketing channels, and they also need to know that every dollar they spend is going to return them a certain ROI. And so typically business owners are more willing to spend a little bit more to get the right marketers than to get certain other employees within the business that can be kind of more generally handled by people with general skills. So I think that's some of the stuff that I've seen from business owners in terms of the future and kind of how marketing and businesses will interact in the future. I do think that like we've said, businesses are kind of post-pandemic operating in a much more remote and distributed manner. And marketing departments historically have been something that have been one of the first to be outsourced. And so I really think that marketing is kind of at the forefront of running into this contractor distributed model. And so, again, I think that Mayple is well positioned in the next decade to kind of grow and expand with this trend. I think this is going to be, there's a lot of companies that I work with that still had traditional business. Like we underestimate, because we're in the digital space, all we see is digital. So we really underestimate the fact that certain businesses were still just like, advertising on billboards, radio, magazine, newspaper, direct mail. I mean, these things, it's like, we don't, a lot of times, all we see is Facebook, Instagram, and digital. So we don't think about it. But, I come into contact every day with businesses that have grown enormous businesses that are completely not digitally optimized. Like they run very poor campaigns. They really don't understand their segmentation. They really don't have their e-commerce backend set up. And what the pandemic has created is the necessity for those businesses. Before they could still run their businesses and still be like, well, the direct mail campaigns are working really well and people are still coming to our retail shop and life is good. But now with the pandemic, it's like that's no longer an option. Everybody, even like the last bastion of kind of people who have been reluctant to embrace digital have been forced to embrace digital. And the other thing that I think people overlook is that the vast majority of the economy still operated in a non-digital format. Like, yes, digital has been growing year on year for the past 20 years, but still, like, you know, the local laundromat.
Offline.
What's that?
Yeah, it surfaced offline last year. So
yes. So, like, still, you know, your laundromat down the street, your hairdresser, all of these kind of companies that, you know, exist in the real life brick and mortar format, they still outnumber digital businesses kind of, you know, overall. And now we're seeing obviously digital ad spend eclipse traditional ad spend. But what I'm saying is there's still a lot of traditional businesses that have yet to fully convert to a digital model. And so over the next 10 years, we're going to see a huge kind of conversion from all of these typical businesses that are still not advertising online to begin advertising online.
Thank you. And, you know, regarding what you said, and I think, you know, it's a lot of very, you know, true things from the eyes of the business. And what I'm hearing when you said that is actually that businesses are overwhelmed. And businesses right now, you know, they see an industry and they see, you know, so many terms, so many channels, so many opportunities, so many freelancers, so many agencies, and they're overwhelmed. And, you know, just, you know, an opportunity to say something about the model we built here, because it's not like you scroll down a list of experts and just being more overwhelmed just in one platform. Okay, that's not the issue either. That's not the purpose of what we built. But actually, you know, when people are so overwhelmed, they feel lack of confidence, and it's really harder to them to take that step into developing their, you know, their business into digital and to growing that into, you know, the next level. And they're looking a place where they can trust. And I think trust is the main keyword here from the business point of view, and also, you know, from eventually when we will build, you know, a relationship that is built on trust, whether it's through vetting, whether it's through, you know, matching both, you know, sides to the right project. Eventually the purpose is to make everyone trust each other and really be empowered by that trust. And I think, you know, when hearing all those terms into this industry, and I don't think the marketing industry is the only one, by the way. I think there are a lot more industries that are, you know, kind of experiencing the same issues and challenges. I guess architects and psychologists, and there are more, you know, very fragmented industries out there where clients are, you know, it's really hard for clients to really understand who should they work with and how to work with those experts when starting to work with them. I think it's another issue here that's also, you know, people can, you know, start working with experts and say, hey, this expert is doing a good job for me or not. They can't really say that because there is a lack of trust and lack of knowledge. And, you know, typically for those small and medium businesses, they kind of left behind in this, you know, overwhelming scenario of channels and, you know, expertise and abilities. And something that is kind of, you know, differentiate, I think, the model we built here, and this is what makes Mayple a managed marketplace, is not only a place where, you know, businesses are actually matched with experts that are fully vetted and really specialize in their specific niche, but also that this relationship is monitored. So it's not like, okay, someone is choosing out of a list and good luck with that. Eventually, you know, building trust is more than that. It's just going into the relationship and really making sure this relationship works. So, you know, for you that don't know, Mayple also, you know, added a monitoring layer of people that sit within Mayple that are part of that relationship between the business and expert, and just making sure this relationship works well. Because, you know, because of that super fragmented industry, a lot of people just lost trust. In order to gain that trust back, we need to facilitate it in a more, you know, trustworthy way, and just make it easier on both sides to really collaborate and make the most of this relationship. Because eventually, we're, you know, the essence of all of it is actually creating a place where both sides are empowered and really, you know, fulfill their full potential. So.
Great. We have about a few more minutes for the session, so maybe we'll take the opportunity to see if someone from the audience wants to raise their hand and ask a question on screen. Use the hand icon on the bottom and request the mic, and we'll bring you on stage. Let's see if anyone takes the opportunity. And Mike going around, Mike going once, going twice, going 3 times. Okay, I guess not. So unless anyone picks up the mic, maybe some closing remarks from you before we close.
Yeah, I can. I mean, eventually. First, thank you so much. I think the future of communities is super interesting, and the direction it goes to in different industries goes to very interesting routes. With Mayple specifically, we're starting to build that right, and I think the insights we're getting from the network and from the experts and from the community are the most impactful ones on how we develop that community and the value it brings to our experts. And we really try to build a community of the cream de la cream of digital marketing experts out there, and it's also from the Mayple side, it's a real privilege to build this kind of community, and I guess we learn more than we give right now, and I hope that we'll give as much as we learn from you. And thank you so much for being part of that community.
Thank you for having us, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's really wonderful to have all of you from all different countries and different locations. So thank you so much for this panel. Before I close, I'll just mention to our audience that you're invited to the lounge. You can go to the lounge, grab a table. Perhaps you all want to sit at one table or maybe different tables, and you can interact with people. You may have received direct messages, people that want to interact with you. And the next sessions up are challenges of building a support community and startup communities in the social periphery. So thank you all very much, and continue enjoying this conference. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.